Welcome. In front of me is a TCL 505, and today I will go over unboxing and look at a quick look at the device itself. Now to get started, let me actually first find my little knife so I can pop it open. Actually, before I do so, I am going to touch upon one thing that I find very infuriating right here. So TCL, not only them, but other companies do that as well, markets this device as 8 gigabytes and 128 gigabytes storage. This is absolute bullshit. And as you can see, it's 4+4. So in reality, this device is 4 gigs of RAM and 128 of storage. And if it's not that, if they want to market it as such, then they should say 8 gigabytes and 124 gigabytes of storage, not 8, because that 4 gigabytes of RAM that they supposedly have is straight out just storage. So you have less of it. It's not like it's popping out of thin air, RAM. So yeah, and that being said, in general, marketing storage as RAM is just absolute bullshit, considering storage is significantly slower compared to the actual RAM. Therefore, marketing it as such is just a scam. Now, inside we get the phone itself. So just yoink it out of here. There we go. Under that, we get a charging cable. It's a type A to type C cable, and then a charging brick, which will be probably absolute garbage. Yep, it's a 10 watt. So it's they might have not as well included, and it would have been probably better. Let's peel that off. Actually, before I do so, let's actually look at this. So we have a 6.75 inch display. It's a next vision display, whatever that's supposed to mean. 90 hertz refresh rate, and again 128 with that bullshit fucking thing. Sorry for that. Anyway, I love how they put that asterisk there. Like, just no, it's 4 gigs. I just can't. The asterisk. Why don't you make it 256 gigabytes of storage and, I don't know, put an asterisk there and just allow people to buy additional cloud storage. It's basically the same thing. Anyway, below that we have a 50 megapixel hybrid camera. I'm not sure what the hybrid's supposed to mean. A main plus macro 2-in-1. No, that's not how it works. But I'm gonna let it slide for now. I'm gonna just completely tear into it later on. And then we have stereo dual speakers and over 5,000 mAh battery. Okay, good enough. Let's turn it on. Now going into the display, actually a little bit more in depth. Oh boy, something is in my throat. It must be all the garbage that I'm spewing right here in terms of the specifications for this device. Damn, it's really getting there. Okay, so the display, like the device stated, is a 6.7 inch display. Now the resolution, which they didn't mention because it's garbage, is a 720p, so 720 by 1600 LCD IPS display running at least at 90 Hz refresh rate with a typical brightness of about 400 nits, so not too bright. Now continuing on, it boasts an 85% screen to body ratio and about 260 pixels per inch in terms of the pixel density of the resolution. So yeah, it's in general, the display right here is mediocre at best. Now, continuing on into the cameras at the back, we have a dual camera setup. So it's not a hybrid camera, it's a dual camera setup. And the main sensor is a 50 megapixel wide sensor. And then we get a 2 megapixel, wait, did I say depth? 50 megapixel wide sensor, and then 2 megapixel depth sensor. So the depth one is right here, and it's as useless as the statement that this is a dual camera or hybrid camera with macro lens. Now the reason this makes no absolute effing sense is because it's called wide. Just because you can zoom in on something doesn't make it a macro. So this device comes with a macro. And I'm going to showcase the difference in a second, because I absolutely despise this dog shit approach of companies just trying to just lie about most of the things about the devices. And I am so thrilled that I can just tear into this absolute malpractice. Now honestly, at this point I'm gonna say that I wouldn't recommend this device just because of the amount of bullshit that they're putting on the packaging. and how they're trying to mislead their customers. So I have no clue if, for instance, warranty that you're supposed to get, they will take it, because they might just find some absolute dog crap excuse to not accept your warranty, as an example. Considering they're already lying about decent amount of things that we can clearly see that they're just lies. And therefore, I wouldn't recommend a device like that. You don't know what they're gonna try to pull out just to, make additional money at your expense. Now, let's turn on the camera right here. So with the expectancy that this is a hybrid camera, so we should be able to just use wider sensor. Enter super macro. Wow, that is, yeah, that's highly doubtful. Yeah, no, that's not macro. I can already tell. So there we go. That's as close as I can get to the object that I'm trying to capture. If I get closer, which is what macro is supposed to be able to do, it gets blurry because it's not a macro. Now, just to test it out, this is the macro shot. You can even call that macro. It's not that bad, but it is obviously using a 50 megapixel sensor. So I want to see if 2x zoom will basically give me the same results, and I think it actually might give me better results. There we go. I think I captured it right. Yeah. Okay, so here is a 50 megapixel 2x zoom shot. Now both of these examples are taken with the same camera, by the way. So here we get. It's actually pretty sharp considering. And here is the macro. They're about the same, I would say. Now let's get my phone. Let's just give it a second, as it did die completely, so I need to wait for it to load everything. And open up camera. And let's go into, where is it? More. There we go, super macro. Now this is actually something that I would consider a super macro, because I can actually get relatively close. And let's just actually first wipe down these smudges on the sensor. Keep in mind this device is already like several years old, and the lens there is actually scratched up. There we go. Good enough, I would say. Good enough to actually see the absolute stark difference between these two photos. So here we go. Hybrid lens, wide sensor mixed with macro. Looks like a blurry freaking mess, right? Here, we can actually see like threads of something right here, which this camera didn't even pick up. And mind you, this is like a 4-year-old device, 5-year-old device, and this camera obviously is already scratched up, and devices came with much better sensors since then. So this is already like severely outdated device. And you can clearly see the difference right here in terms of quality. So yeah, it just doesn't really compare. So like I said, this is just absolute BS, and any device that comes with a 50 megapixel wide sensor, in this case with their logic, could be considered as a hybrid camera. But no one else tries to, bullshit their way into adding more cameras, even though you don't have more cameras. It's such a stupid thing to do. So yeah. Anyway, now that this rant is over, let's move over to the front selfie camera, and that camera is a 5 megapixel wide sensor. Now with both of those, front or back, you can record videos at 1080p 30 frames only. And moving on into the internals, we have like the little sticker said, a 5010 mAh battery with only a 10 watt charger. So this device will be charging basically overnight. That's the only way you're gonna actually charge it, probably. It comes with a Helio G36 processor and 4 GB of RAM and either 64 GB of storage or 128 GB of storage. With both of those being only 4 GB of RAM, contrary to what you see here with the asterisk. So it's 4 GB of RAM, and that's the truth, not what you get actually on a package. Also, the storage here is an eMMC 5.1, meaning it's garbage. I'm not gonna lie, it's bad. So it adds more to the it's gonna add significantly more latency to what RAM storage should be doing. if you will need to use it. Now, in the settings for most of devices like this, you actually have the option to just disable that because it's absolutely freaking useless and serves no purpose outside of probably delaying your device performance when it's trying to load something from RAM, but it's taking it significantly longer than it should because it's actually using storage for that. So I would recommend actually getting rid of that, and all in all, like I said before, I wouldn't even recommend this device. It is a budget device, but I want to add a little bit of a perspective to this. So with budget devices, specifically like the very, very low end, when they start like at $100 or something along those lines, 120, those are basically like the very bare minimum thing you can get, lowest price primarily, and still have a relatively functional device. But if you spend like $50 more or $100 more, now I do understand $100 more is basically double the price, but believe me, when it comes down to from low end to mid-range devices, that $100 makes a stupid difference in terms of performance and what you get for the device. Something that you won't really see when looking at flagships. So for instance, a device that comes with flagship specifications at like $600 won't differ that much from a device that costs $1,000. Now that's almost double the price, but the difference there is minuscule at best. When it comes down to devices like this at $100 to $120 to $200, that difference is noticeable. It's stupid how noticeable it is. So I would recommend saving up a little bit more money and actually going for a higher end device at like range of 200 and having much better experience with that device rather than going for the bare minimum and having not the best user experience with that device. And that being said, devices at like $200 range will come with a decent specification, so they will primarily nowadays have something like at least 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigs of storage at start, unlike this one. Now RAM will be good, considering more RAM means that you can actually, need to wait less for applications to open, specifically the ones that are already in the background. That will increase the speed. Cameras are usually better, and the display obviously will be also better for the most part, and those are really the things that you will care the most about, and obviously the processor. So in all cases, those will be improved and add to that user experience that with very low-end devices you won't really have. So like I said, I recommend going for something higher end and having better user experience rather than getting this where the manufacturer just tries to like scam their way with specifications all around. So yeah, I don't really have any kind of respect for this kind of advertising. Anyway, with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.